Hello, my name is Marie Ramsey and I'm from Transformation to 5D. This podcast is helping you understand the process that humans need to go through to transform and to change, to be able to move into the new world that is opening up to us now. Today I'd like to talk about conflict and war. Conflict and war are something that humans have had forever. It began with men fighting each other in a paddock over territory, over goods, over families, people. It's our way of fighting for security and safety. And it seems to be innate in humans that rather than get it for yourself, you want to take from others. Not all humans, I think, carry this trait, but a lot of humans do, where they think, why should I put in the effort myself when I can just take it from someone else who has it? Is it a sense of dominance, a sense of power, a sense of entitlement? I don't know. You could talk about that forever. The psychologists have probably, and philosophers have probably explored that to death. But what we know is that humans believe that they can take from others without having to work for it themselves. Maybe it belongs to the scarcity principle, that we believe we need it for survival and that resources are scarce, and so we take from each other. However, when you look at it, the history, first of all, it was one village took from another village, or one tribe from another tribe, and they did this through conflict and war. Perhaps it goes back as basic as one human took from another human in the family, and that created conflict. We take away the rights of other people when we take what does not belong to us. So if we observed human rights, there would be no conflict. It is when we do not observe human rights that conflict occurs. Why must it end? Well, we have now reached a stage where we have weapons of mass destruction. So if we continue on the pathway of wanting to take from each other, we now have nastier weapons to enforce it. We have biochemical warfare, we have remote warfare where you can do it via drones and missiles. We have nuclear weapons where we can wipe out entire countries if we wanted to. And so the weapons of our warfare have become more fierce and more dangerous. It was okay when man just fought it out with some spears in a paddock, but now the consequences are a lot more significant. So we have to learn to get along with each other. We have to learn to let go of our sense of entitlement, our sense of greed, our sense of having what we have not worked for, or what we do not deserve, or does not belong to us. So it comes down to fundamental laws of human rights, and in most religions they will also say, thou shalt not steal. Every religion preaches against taking from others what does not belong to you. We can justify it by saying the elite have accumulated more than they deserve, and that we should be able to take from them to share it around. That if I don't steal, I won't have, therefore I need to steal to have. You can use all the justification in the world that you want. Bottom line is, if we continue with conflict, if we continue with taking from each other, if we continue harming each other, there is no future for humanity. We have created weapons that have now made the consequences of this behavior untenable. We will cause our own self-destruction if we continue on this pathway. Now, there is a metaphor. How true it is, I do not know, but I was given the metaphor that the Atlanteans was a previous iteration of humanity. The Atlanteans were very science-focused, and they built weapons of mass destruction that they ended up using and wiping out themselves. And this was also, they were into science, they were doing a lot of genetic modification. And so when you look at the mythical characters, the half man, half horse, the story I was told is that that was true. The Atlanteans were modifying genetics to create half man, half horse, so that it was a horse with more intelligence and was capable of doing more work, more evolved work than what a horse would be able to just on its own. So Atlanteans went down this pathway of using science to create things without consideration of the consequences or the ethical and moral responsibilities that go with creation. So it's great to be able to create. However, if you're creating from a motivation of greed, of ambition, of competition, then your creations are carrying that energy with them. If you are creating from a place of love, a lot of those things would never have been created. If we look at our own nuclear bomb, it was created to provide energy. It was then turned into a weapon that wiped out Hiroshima. We have to take responsibility for what we create. We have to take responsibility for what we're doing to each other. Because if we don't take responsibility and look at the consequences, if we continue to live in conflict and a sense of entitlement, then we will destroy ourselves. Now we have gone global. We have become a global community. And we see that there is much more mixing of races across borders. So many countries now have many races living within those countries. And if you look at freedom, if you have the freedom to travel to other countries and live in those countries, they should have the freedom to travel to your country and live in your country. Reciprocity is what we must observe. If you have a sense of entitlement and think that you can go and live in that country but they can't come and live in your country, then that has no future. That is going to create conflict, which will lead to wars, which will lead to destruction of humanity. So we have to review everything we do from a sense of reciprocity. If it's okay for me, it's okay for others. If it's okay for others, it's okay for me. So if other countries are banned from coming to my country, then they have every right to ban you from going to their country. You don't have a sense of entitlement to be able to travel to wherever you want. If you want that privilege, you have to allow that privilege to others. And so we look at that, the sense of multiculturalism in this light, and say, if we wanted to go and live in another country and have the freedom to get work, to get an education, to access the health system, the legal system, we have to give that privilege to anyone who comes to live in our country. Reciprocity means you reciprocate. What is good for you is good for them. And so you have to consider that and stop discrimination. Discrimination is where you say, it's okay for me, but it's not okay for others. I'm entitled, they're not. And that is the old mentality of conflict, where you take from others the rights that you give to yourself. You take from others the resources that you allow for yourself. And you may think there's not enough to go around. Well, there is. When we create in expansion, there is always enough to go around. So diversity is important. understanding diversity. You cannot have a select group of people in your country just because you like their cuisine and ban them from getting jobs. You must facilitate full integration. If you want to be able to go to another person's country and work there, you need to reciprocate. If you want to be able to eat someone else's cuisine, you need to be able to reciprocate and allow them the rights to live in your country. The concept of refugees is becoming a major crisis. We have created this through our own selfishness. The majority of refugees around the world at the moment are from war and climate. We created those wars out of greed. We created those climate problems out of greed as a species. Yes, there are some more responsible than others, but the rest of you allowed it to happen. You did not say stop. You did not stop using the products that they were producing. You're quite happy to use the oil, the gas, the coal that created the climate change problems. You're quite happy to allow the wars to occur while they took the resources that they wanted. You cannot sit back and allow the bullies to do what they want and then say it's not my problem, that there's a whole group being beaten up and abused and now they're looking for somewhere to live, somewhere safe. The refugees in our community, our global community, are looking for somewhere safe to raise their families. If we destroyed their countries, if we destroyed their homes and their habitats, their environments, we have an obligation to give them a safe place to raise their families, to start afresh. We cannot say it's not our problem. We had the benefit of that greed. We must take responsibility. Even if you did not directly benefit from the war or the climate destruction, you have a responsibility as a human being to make sure other human beings, their rights are protected. Because one day it could be you. One day it may be someone trying to take your habitat, your environment, destroying your world. And you would want the rest of the world to stand up and say, no, it's not okay. Or if it happened, to take you in as a neighbour and say, we will give you a new start. Refugees are not something to hate. They are a consequence of our bad behaviours. And we need to take action. Just like the refugees from domestic violence are a consequence of allowing domestic violence to escalate to the point where it's destroying families. We need to take action because we have turned a blind eye and allowed it to become so pandemic in our society that now people are being harmed. Or they have always, but it was covered up. Now it's being more exposed. But as the population grows, it becomes more evident. Think of it in a school. Small school, you may have one bully and one victim. But in a much larger school, you've got many bullies and many victims. At what point do you say, no more? It can't keep happening. We need to change the system that allows the bullying and the victims, and we need to look after the victims and help them rehabilitate. We need to bring them back into society of love and compassion before they turn into survival. We know that people in extreme survival mode are not at their best. So we need to bring them back into a society where they have a chance, they have a fair go. We need to end the conflict. We need to end the tolerance of the conflict as normal. We need to end the wars. We need to end the greed that allows this terrible behavior to happen. We need to end the people trafficking, the human trafficking. Treating people as animals, commodities, where they sell them into slavery. Treating children as commodities that they can sell. That is not who we want to be as humans. If we don't want it happening to our family, we need to stop it happening across the world. We need to understand that every human being in this world has the right to be treated the way we would want our own family to be treated. With love, compassion. Then we want them to feel safe. We want them to have a fair go, to get jobs, to learn, to raise their families, to live in love. Every human being, that's all they want. No matter where I travel in the world, I look at the humans and I see the basic common thing between all humans is they want to feel loved. They want to be able to love someone. They want to protect and raise their families. They want to be able to make a living. They want somewhere to live that's safe. They want somewhere to call home. These are basic human rights. And when we have conflict and wars, whether it be domestic violence, whether it be conflict between politicians creating chaos, when it's ego against ego, I want versus you want, instead of learning to live and accept that everyone has rights, understanding those rights, making sure that we protect those rights, the rights of ourselves through self-love and boundaries, but also the rights of others through love and setting boundaries, so that we can have compassion, we can care for each other, we can protect each other, we can reciprocate, we can create safe environments, safe zones where people can recover. We can create opportunities for them to get their life back after it's been taken away from them. We shouldn't write people off, but we should understand that their circumstances created the environment that they were in, the experience they went through. No one chooses that. It happens to them. And if they come out of that seeking a better future, then let's help them find that better future. So we need to look and care for our refugees. We need to stop the things that are creating refugees. If we don't want massive amounts of people becoming homeless, we need to look at why they're becoming homeless. Why is there so much mental illness? Why are there people returning from wars as soldiers and not able to rehabilitate back into society? What are we doing wrong as a society, as humans, that we are breaking people so much? We are destroying them. We are putting them into addictions because they can't cope. We are making them homeless. We are putting them into a survival mode where they become criminals. Why are we allowing the evil to occur of trafficking humans? It's very easy to turn around and blame the rest of the world for being dysfunctional. But we are allowing it to happen in our own backyards and ignoring it. Every society in the world has problems of conflict, of domestic violence, of slavery, of disrespect and abuse of people in your community, of bullying. Every society has a responsibility to create an environment that not only is good for you, but is good for anyone else that wants to share it with you. Just that you have the right to go and live in other communities. They have the right to come and live in your community. But the ultimate reason why this is so important is we have globalized. We have now spread ourselves out around the world through communication and travel to be able to access every society. What's next? Well, it's a bit naive to think we are the only species in the universe. So yes, there are other planets and other societies that live on those planets, other species that live on those planets. Call them aliens, whatever you want. What's going to happen when we start travelling to those planets if we go with conflict and war in our minds? If we can't reciprocate, if we can't negotiate, if we can't recognise their rights, are we going to go and create war, one planet after another, until we've taken the destruction of this world and spread it out across the whole universe? Is that who we want as our legacy? Is that who we want to be as a species, going out to other planets and taking their rights away from them, taking their resources away from them without recognising that everyone has rights? So what happens when we do that? We open the gate to other planets coming here, other species coming here. It's a bit naive to think we're the only ones with space travel. Next thing, they will come here and start taking from us. Is that what we want? Do we want to start that whole pattern? Or do we want to clean up our own species first? So we respect, we reciprocate. We have rights and we respect the rights of others. We don't take, we don't steal, we trade. We negotiate, we compromise, we work with other people, with other species, with other worlds, for the good of the universe, for the good of everyone. Or do we want to be that marauding species that goes around and just creates chaos and war wherever we go? Because, and this may be a metaphor, that was what the reptilians did. The reptilians destroyed their own planet through their greed. And then they came here as refugees. And they were banished to live in caves because they were not allowed to mix with humans. But over time they have created connection with humans and spread the greed virus into humans. And this is the basis of our downfall. The greed virus given to us by the reptilians, which infected many humans to think that they deserved more than others. They could take from others what they wanted. So do we spread that virus back around the world, around the universe? Is that who we want to be? A plague upon the universe? Or do we eradicate that virus now? Do we kill off that virus and say no? We do not want to be consumed by greed. We do not want to be consumed by taking from others. We do not want to be a product of the reptilians. That is a choice you have to make if you live in fear. you will be infected by the reptilian virus. If you live in love, you will become immune to the reptilian virus. You will no longer need to think of greed or taking or harming anyone, because love does not tolerate that. Love says no to that. So it's an infection of humans that we need to wipe out, to eradicate, before we start traveling to the stars, to other planets, to other worlds, before we interact with others that want to come and visit us. Because if we can't trust, if we can't create a positive interaction with them, if they can't trust us, then how are we going to do interplanetary travel? We have already conquered this planet. The next step is moving out into space, into the universe, into other worlds. And so we need to clean up our species before we do that. We need to get rid of the reptilian virus of greed and corruption. We need to wipe it out so that we don't take it out into other places, so that we can trust people or other species when they come here. They are waiting to visit, but they can't come here whilst we live in conflict. They don't want to be involved in our chaos. So we have to clean up our act first before we can let the neighbours in. That is why conflict and war must go. Well, it's why all war must end. Why, as a species, we say there is no room for conflict and war. Everything can be worked through. When we look at human rights, when we look at it from a place of compassion and love, we can always find a solution that does not involve conflict or war. There's enough to go around. Through love we expand, we create more. We do not need to live in scarcity and fear. We can always create more. There is plenty to share if we expand through love and compassion. But if we contract in survival mode, we create conflict and war. So it is up to us as a species to choose and decide, are we ready to evolve? Are we ready to become an interplanetary species? Are we ready to go that next step? Because that means letting go of greed, conflict, and war. That means living with love and compassion and respecting the rights of all. Are we ready to evolve to that? I hope you are. I'm Marie Ramsey from Transformation to 5D. You'll find more information about my websites in the description below. Thank you and take care. Hello, I'm Marie Ramsey. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, a resource therapist and a counsellor. I specialise in trauma healing because trauma is the basis of anxiety, depression, and most mental and physical illnesses. It is what blocks us from becoming the healthy, happy person full of love, joy and abundance. And so it is important to heal trauma in the transformation process. You can book sessions with me if you would like through my website transformationto5d.com. They're available online via Zoom and face-to-face in Brisbane, Australia. I'm also a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner in the Dolores Cannon style, and this is available face-to-face in Brisbane, Australia. It is a process of regressing into past lives, then talking to the higher self, and then bringing in the white lights for healing. It is an incredible experience, the quantum healing process. I am running courses on my Wisdom of Love Academy, and they are available self-paced or via Zoom in groups. In future, I'll be running workshops and retreats in different places around the world, and so if you would like to keep up to date with what is happening, subscribe to my newsletter so I can let you know the latest. I'm also willing to work with other people if they would like me to come and talk in their organisations or to run workshops and retreats with them in partnership. I hope that you are finding this podcast helpful, and if there is more topics that you would like me to cover or questions that you have, please put them in the comments or email them to me so that I can answer that in future podcasts. Together we are creating a healing community that is going to be able to transform into the new world of 5D, of love, joy and abundance. I welcome you to this community, and I hope that you come on this journey with us of transformation so that you too can pass through the portal into the new world. Thank you. Take care.